Lord Dmitri. Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facebook Live with the dog barking. Oh. 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 How's everybody tonight? My name's Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facebook Live. That is Marley off the side, the critic. Ooh. Tonight's show. Is all about Dmitri Shostakovich, one of my favourite composers of all time. Yes. Oy! And I'm sort of doing this again because I had a bit of a microphone drama last night. So you're getting two of them. And there you go. Take two. Oop. And so what's going on is I'm going to talk about Dmitri Shostakovich tonight. Dmitri Shostakovich is one of the major Russian composers, and what he had to go through in his life was quite amazing. He had quite the life. And what happens is he was born in 1906, and in the centenary of his birth, 2006, orchestras the world over did a coordinated tribute to the great man. MSO, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Symphony number 7, Symphony 11. And you've got to hear the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra's big-ass bass drum. Woofka! Oh, I loved it. Oh. And they did it with aplomb. He passed away in 1975. And his work is quite amazing. Symphony, string quartets. I'll get to it in a second. What he's most famous for is the 4 Dmitri notes, the Shostakovich notes. You have D, E flat, C, B, D, E flat, C, B. Oh. I do love making these ones. Anyway, there you go. D, E flat, C, and B was brought to Dmitri Shostakovich's attention by his son when Dmitri was giving him a piano lesson. Basically, his son basically, Papa, did you know that these notes here spell your name? So they do, son. Bang, I think I'm onto this. So essentially, it's the German alliteration spoken in Russian, which stands for D for Dmitri, and then Shosta, okay, his initials basically. And it's on his tombstone. Nya, 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 and he was just onto something. Last night I put on, I'm a bit of a completist without Dmitri, and what it is I just put it on after I did the show yesterday, and it was all night, and all in the different ways, you know. I've got my piccolos over here, and what I have is the strings. Now, Dmitri would get the violinists, they'd almost saw through their Stradivari, that kind of thing, like that sort of stuff. Oop. And all the different ways that he was able to do it. he was a brilliant composer. He could take things, and he was a bit of a child prodigy. His first symphony hit big in the late 20s when he was still not far out of his teens, but he was, there he was. However, he did get into a bit of trouble, and what happened with Dmitri is that in the mid-30s he was doing he had his opera Lady Macbeth of Gdansk, and also Symphony Number 4. You got to listen to that. Oh, come on, Dmitri, give me a break. Come on, bang. And basically, dictator, dirty mongrel Stalin said, "That's a bit too decadent for my taste, Dmitri. Give me a good folk song." And essentially, it was like, well, the next one better be better, otherwise it's off to the gulags for you. And so we came back with Symphony 5, which was absolutely a masterpiece. I'll give you this, Dmitri. And not long ago, the good old MSO did Symphony 6, which was a little bit of a getting close there, Comrade Dmitri. And what happened was Symphony Number 6 is a very pastoral one. They wanted something big and uplifting, and it was actually quite sad. There you go. So there it is there. But what happened was his famous one was Symphony 7, written during the time of the siege of Leningrad, which we know better as St. Petersburg, before, now after St. Petersburg, his place of birth. And essentially he wrote the 7th, which is quite famous because it was smuggled out of Leningrad, because Leningrad was besieged, encircled. And it was the long march, that kind of thing, where the Nazis were surrounding World War II, kind of. So like a long bolero, but it's not a bolero, it's just a march. It starts. Symphony 7. And it became an international hit, propaganda thing. It was played by orchestras the world over. There's documentaries about that one symphony. It was absolutely brilliant. Dmitri couldn't go into the army. His eyesight was too bad, so he's a fireman. And there's a picture on Time magazine with the golden Russian fireman's helmet kind of thing, keeping up the fight, So he wanted to go in the army. He's got bottle-top glasses. So that's what it was. So there you go. I'm going to read about our Dmitri a little bit now. And here we go. Dmitri Dmitrovich Shostakovich, 25th of September 1906 to the 9th of August 1975, was a Soviet-era Russian composer and pianist who became internationally known after the premiere of his first symphony in 1926 and was regarded throughout his life as a major composer. There you go, just like I said before. Shostakovich achieved early fame in the Soviet Union but had a complex relationship with its government. His 1934 opera, Lady Macbeth of Gdansk. I said Gdansk, it's I can't say it. Mtsensk. Mtsensk was initially a success, but eventually was condemned by the Soviet government, putting his career at risk. In 1948, his work was denounced under the Zhdanov Doctrine, with professional consequences lasting several years. Even after his censure was rescinded in 1956, performances of his music were occasionally subject to state interventions, as with his 13th Symphony, 1962. Shostakovich was a member of the Supreme Soviet of the RSFSR, 1947, and the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union from 1962 until his death, as well as chairman of the RSFSR, Union of Composers, 1960 to 68. Over the course of his career, he earned several important awards, including the Order of Lenin from the Soviet government. Now, some of you out there might think that this is a bit of a controversial show in the sense that I am talking about a famous Russian composer in this time and space with everything that's going on over in that part of the world. However, what I just read, Dmitri Shostakovich was a very brave man. I could call him a dissident, but maybe that might not be the right word. But for all the horrors of those times and him always under the thumb, like forever, next one better be pretty good, Comrade Dmitri, off to the gulags for you, that kind of business. He had his fair share of controversy. After that Lady Macbeth opera, that was during the times of those evil purges, those Stalin purges in the 1930s. And so he took to writing his music at night while his wife and children were in bed, sleeping. And he wrote on a desk. He's that talent, he could just write music and he knew what it was. He could just hear it in his head. There it is there's this, there's that, that kind of thing. So he could write it all without having, and he'd check it the next day on the piano, of course, I'm sure. But the point is, he would write with a small bag of his accoutrements next to him in case the secret police came on and, "Come here, you're off." And his only request was, "Don't wake my children." And what he would do would put, for all the horrors that was going on, he would take the folk melodies of the oppressed people. He would do things like put a Jewish folk melody, bury it in the basses or the cellos. And if it was something like, let's just say, let me be a bit silly with it, but say if it's Mary Had a Little Lamb, right? Mary had a little lamb, something like that. He would put it all in semi-breve, so it would be Mary had, like that, and bury it. So it was subliminal. He'd do things like that, you see. And then one of the other things he would do, he would write music for what he called the desk drawer. So things like his, I believe it might have been his first violin concerto and stuff. He wrote it and then he just put it away. And then when Stalin kicked the bucket in 1953, he pulled it out and said, "Here it is." And some of the famous ones like Symphony 9 and Symphony 10, they're supposed to be triumphant things and for the people and all that. But there's bits where it's sort of like, and it's supposed to be some kind of real bravura thing, right? But later on he said, no, that was my little musical way of a drunk Stalin, bouncing around his house, the oaf, just going, like, cop this, you mongrel, that kind of thing. And he put it out there. He was clever. And when you look at him, such a diminutive figure in his own little way. Bottle-top glasses, very quiet, very quiet man, but had a sense of humour. He'd have his smoke and his coffee and all that. He'd be going, "Oh yeah, whip this one out," that kind of thing. Thanks, son. And then what he'd do is intertwine it. So I'm going to change it up. There's the... And he'd go from these big, sounds to the most quiet. He'd go from triple F and the violins just soaring through their, Stradivari, as I said before, and then all of a sudden, bang, finished. And then you just heard one famous one was the Symphony 11, 1905, where that's commemorating or remembering the remembrance of when Russia was starving, bitter winter. The people were in revolt, and Tsar Nicholas turned his army onto his own people, and it was a massacre, and that spread the seeds for what actually ended up happening in 1917. And now, not by any stretch in mind, I know this comes across a little bit controversial, but I am talking about Dmitri the man and what he did in revolt to such an oppressive, awful regime. So it's one man who could do what he could do. And what it was, the reason I'm playing cymbals here, is he'd go from the big, big notes, and then, which would represent the actual guns, and then the aftermath was just this long, soft, sort of lament for those that were lost. So I'm going to go over now, and I'm going to go, what are those voices that I had? Are they up here? Hope you enjoyed that. Big build-ups and then big, and Dmitri ran the gamut. He could do things like this, which was so incredibly sad. Foreboding, and then just do comedy. He did a lot of movie scores in the day. Now, one of the things that I always say is that if there was a death metal drummer in the mid-1930s, Dmitri would have used him. Oh! And then he would go into the folky, the Eastern European folk melodies and all sorts of stuff. So he would use something like, I'll use a dulcimer for this, which is Stravinsky used to use dulcimers too. Les Noches, the wedding, all these, One of the great things with Dmitri was his sense of counterpoint. We know that better as split rudiments and things, putting things on different drums. One of the reasons why I'm bringing up Dmitri today is because he's still current. Anyone who's watching the series Rabbit Hole, Kiefer Sutherland's new series, seems to be quite well rating. I go up the shops and there's a bus driving by and there's Rabbit Hole plastered on the side, that big yellow banner with Kiefer going like that, sort of thing. I mentioned it a few episodes ago, but I was doing it, I was treating it like Dmitri and also other movie composers, even Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, who's doing music for film and series and things. That's what he's gotten into. He's already got a Academy Award up his sleeve for the girl with the dragon tattoo. I think he got the Academy Award for Best Music there about a decade ago. But what it is he's prevalent right now because of the kinds of things that he was able to do. Now, I'm talking about the man, but I'm going to turn the triggers off a little bit and do a little bit about talking about the technique. Now, as you know, I've got big Doris here, but what it is, I've got the mallets, you see. And what happens is that when you're playing anything Shostakovich-like, it's very percussive. Stravinsky and Shostakovich take the cake for percussive business there. And one of the things that when you're actually using timpani, for instance, there's a lot of timpani in Shostakovich's work. And what happens is when you're dealing with timpani technique, it's a direct correlation to what I'm doing here. And even if you've just got the normal 5-piece drum kit, I mean, I get a lot of flack for this drum kit. And I defend her all the time because the thing is, these are notes, you see. Go have a look at a piano. You've got a key as big as a finger. But if I wanted to actually make that note on something real, it's got to be a big-ass floor tom or a bass drum, you see. So what happens is when you're having to deal with this kind of business, One of the things about timpani technique you learn is inside stick and outside stick. So you might be going down the drums. Your right hand is the inside stick and your left hand is the outside stick. Now, if you're going to go around and want to come back up again, you're going to need to do either two things here. You either do a double tap or an odd number of strokes. I'll do an odd number of strokes. Right, left, 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 you see? So if I go down and up, if you've only got just this, there it is. Or you could use the double tap. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Paradiddle, diddle, 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 diddle. So you can use rudiments such as a paramadoodle to get around doing different things. Now, always remember, timpanis are tunable, and you would be writing notes, you know, and you would tune the timpani. You have a fundamental note, and most timpanis these days have a pedal, and then what you do is literally tune, you tune the timpani to a fundamental, and then the pedal pulls the skin to make it go higher. So you could literally, with your pedal, do a C major scale. If you tune any particular timpani, depending on its size, of course, if it's C, then you've got a little dial, because I used to have two that I was in charge of with the Dear City of Essendon Brass Band when we weren't marching, when it was the national championships and things. And you'd have to tune it, and then there's a little dial telling you where D, E, you know, like you work it up. So you press the pedal, and as soon as you get Do, Re, there's D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and there you go, depending on the size of the timpani. There you go. And then when you're learning orchestration, what happens is that you're actually trained to work out how to write for timpani if you're not actually a drummer or a percussionist, like to dispel some myths out there. I mean, Beethoven didn't play trumpet, he played piano, but he knew what a trumpet could do, and he knew what a violin could do. You don't, with my Sibelius program, when I write music, if it goes above the range of the instrument, once I've plugged in the instrument, the notes go red, so it tells you, no, stay in your lane, mate. Anyway, there you go. I better start wrapping the show up, hey? Oi! So that's what I'm talking about. And when there's a little bit of the old technique for you. When you split, bit of linear. Angles, triangle with the left hand, line with the right. There it is there, you see. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Go check out Dmitri Shostakovich. So much music out there to be had. And where would we be without the... what have I got here? I'll go back up. Oh, we should have been a bit better prepared today, Chris. There you go. And turn it on, you dill. There you go. Now, to finish off, I suppose, is that when you have a little bit of a sit-down listening session with Dmitri, the symphonies are grandiose and huge in the, listen, comrade, write something for the people. Or else, that kind of thing. And he would. He rose to the fight, if you will, that kind of thing. And but if you really wanted to get into the heart and soul and the pleading and just the depth of the man, go check out his string quartets. Quite amazing. String quartet number 8 is, like if you're listening to it in the car, you're not far off stopping, pulling off to the side of the road, just going, there it is. Oof, sort of thing. At his most personal, sort of thing. You see the soul come out. So go check him out, Dmitri Shostakovich. That's what tonight's show is all about. I love yous all. I'm going to take off now. My name is Chris Quinlan. This will be up soon enough. And I'll have this. It's basically it's a returning theme for me with Dmitri, and it's topical now because of essentially Rabbit Hole, because it's being used there by the composer Sid. You'll hear it. You'll hear his theme. Dum bum bum bum. Siddhartha Khosla is the composer for Rabbit Hole. Some brilliant music, and he uses D, E flat, C, and B. It's nearly in every episode, and it's almost like the Jaws thing. As soon as you hear boom, 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 you know the shark's coming. So my name's Chris Quinlan, Facebook Live. There we go. Thank you so much. I'll have this up at some point. Thank you. Good night, one and all. Hey. Oh.